It is spinning. We're live. Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Hello.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
What a day.
Whew, what a day and what a speech last night. Am I right or am I right?
Wow. Wow.
And we're obviously going to get into that hugely and heavily this morning. And this could not be a better time to remind everybody to prepare for the worst when it comes to making sure that your family and your home and you've got all your supplies that you need for when all the S goes down. Because man, after that speech, I don't know how we could get more divided, but he somehow found a way.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for disaster recovery, ways to prepare your home in the event of an emergency or disaster, please check out preparewiththechicks.com. Right now, for example, you can save $250 on a 3-month emergency food kit, which is very, very important to have on hand in addition to bottled water, in addition to lots of ammo. You want to have a good supply of emergency food because you just never know what kind of crazy is going to happen in this world.
And I think I know.
So saving $250 on a 3-month supply of food, which by the way, stores for 25 years. So, it's a nice thing to have on hand. I know because we keep ours in our coat closet of all places, because we're running out of places to store stuff in our house. So in our coat closet in the front entryway, every time I grab a jacket or something, I see it on the floor of that closet. And I'm like, yay, look at us go. We are prepared. And so it's just a nice way to prepare. Preparewiththechicks.com. You'll save $250 at that website on your 3-month emergency food kit. Really, really consider it, you guys. Now is the time.
It definitely is the time. And you guys, if you haven't already, check out our website at chicksontheright.com. Go there every single day. Go there so you can know what's happening in the world.
You got to know. And that's where we write all the things. Yeah. So make sure to go there. Faux show. All right. I'm just going to start by sharing my screen because a picture that Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports shared last night on Twitter really encapsulates the what's the word? The visual, the
imagery.
Optic,
it was the imagery. Yeah. And the optics. Because that was the first thing that struck me when he walked out on that stage with the Marines and oh my God.
Mean, this is, you guys, like,
the red.
What?
Yeah. The blood red.
That is absolutely terrifying.
Right. The blood red background. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening here? The imagery. I think that was the first thing I wrote everybody in our writers chat. And I was just like, what's up with this commie imagery? What is it?
Right.
That's this is really strange.
And even Dave Portnoy, the way he captioned it says, the fact that this is not Photoshopped is surreal. And it really, really, truly is surreal. Yikes.
Right. Gosh. This is an American president. It's an American president. And then he started speaking.
The great unifier.
Right. And then he started speaking, and I was like, what is even happening? Right.
I know. And so we've got a couple clips for those of you who were smart enough to miss that. And by the way, none of the networks carried it. It was like CNN, MSNBC, but none of the majors carried it. They were too busy showing Young Sheldon reruns. They were not going to carry it live, which I thought was hilarious, actually.
Right.
PBW Brian 53, thank you so much for that super sticker. Appreciate it. One of the weirdest moments from last night was when he decided, after screaming at everybody for 24 straight minutes, one of the things that he said towards the end was that he wanted to give us all his word as a Biden, which he should know means absolutely jack squat at this point, because he lies all the time. So whenever he says that, I'm always like, do you really want to say that you're giving your word as a Biden? Because nobody believes you.
Right.
But this is what just out of nowhere, what one of the focal points of his speech was.
This moment, with all the challenges we face, I give you my word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about America's future. Not because of me, but because of who you are. We're going to end cancer as we know it. Mark my words.
What?
Mark his words. Okay. Yeah, and he's been promising this for how long? Okay, yeah, we trust you to end cancer. All right. And I love the Philly sirens in the background.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of heckling. I don't have that clip because it's hard to hear it anyway, but there was at least a few hecklers who were literally screaming at the top of their lungs, F Joe Biden, without censoring themselves like I just did. I mean, screaming it. And so there was one point too where he responded to them by saying something like, it's their right as Americans. It's, their right in this democracy to be outrageous, and they've never known good manners or something like that. That's how he responded to them. It was super bizarre.
Yeah. And it was just constant. The whole 24 minutes, it was this schizophrenic, really strange back and forth where he demonized 75 million of us, put us all in a bucket of being extremists and being dangerous and being a threat to democracy. But then he would say, okay, but I'm going to unify. We're going to come together and I'm going to unify. Even my 12-year-old who was sitting on the couch with me was like, what is this guy saying? Like, he's not making any sense. He's going back and forth. Like, he doesn't make it. And I'm like, yeah, if she can recognize how completely crazy, what a lunatic this guy is, everybody should be able to recognize that. I mean, it made zero sense. And she was like, he's basically being mean to half of the country, but yet it's like being a battered wife. It's like, I'm going to beat up on you, and then say, but listen, I'm going to unify everybody. You're not going to unify.
I still love you.
My God.
Well, nuts. And it's one of the, a lot of the people who think it was a great speech, because there are, of course, the people on CNN and MSNBC are like, oh my God, it was so patriotic. We're reclaiming patriotism as Democrats, is what they're saying. So one of the things that they're using to excuse this whole rhetoric about extremist MAGA Republicans or whatever is that at early on in the speech, and by the way, he mentioned MAGA Republicans 13 times. So this was definitely the focal point of his speech. But one of the things that he said initially was, I'm talking about MAGA Republicans, and that's not even the majority of Republicans. That's just this extremist part. I want him to say exactly who that is and who he considers not a MAGA Republican. Because if it's just going to be Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney,
and that dude and the dude who cries, Adam, what's his name? He's the dude who cries. Yeah, the crying guy.
Right. I mean, that's it. Are those, is everybody else that? Because I can tell you right now, for a lot of Republicans who didn't consider themselves MAGA Republicans, they do now, simply because of that tone was so outrageous. Here's another example of him talking about, this is another thing that I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Where he talks about how important it is to be respectful of the law.
American democracy only works only if we choose to respect the rule of law and the institutions that were set up in this chamber behind me. Really? Only if we respect our legitimate political differences. I will not stand by and watch. I will not, the will of the American people, be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
Okay, so first of all,
rule of law. How about you freaking take care of the border? Enforce the law at the border.
It's almost 5 million is what they're saying. Like, I mean, the original number that I heard was 2 million. And now they're saying that the real data is like almost 5. And so you think about that, that is literally what was it? The size of it, like a European country. I think it's Ireland. I think they say that like literally we have the number of people in Ireland that have literally crashed over our border, that have invaded our border since he has been in office. Ireland, you guys. That's nuts. And then he's getting up on a pulpit and screaming to us about the rule of law. Oh my God, suck it. Like, you don't know what the rule of law is. And then look at the lawlessness in our cities right now. And then he's talking about not accepting an election. Has he met Hillary Clinton? Has he met her?
Right.
Oh my God.
Well, and here, because I just can't I don't want to do too much of this because it'll make us all crazy. But there's one more clip that I'll share from this, and then we can hear some other analysis of it. Here is this last one.
She endures only if we, the people, respect the guardrails of the republic. Only if we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if we, the people, see politics not as total war, but mediation of our differences. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where the MAGA Republicans are today. They don't understand what every patriotic American knows. You can't love your country only when you win.
Well, what about Michelle Obama saying, "I'm finally proud to be an American" because her husband won?
And
suck it, Joe Biden.
And basically every Democrat, every liberal when Trump was president. I felt like there was so much projection last night. Everything that he said is what they were during the Trump years.
Yeah.
Everything. It's nuts. It's like this crazy gaslighting projection thing that's happening on a stage. I just was like, am I the only one? What's going on? It's just so strange.
Well, and imagine too, how would they run? Because some people were mentioning that this is Biden's blueprint for how Democrats should run in the midterms. Like they should be following this speech as a blueprint. And it makes me wonder, what would happen if they didn't have Trump to set their sights on? What would they be saying about the results that they've achieved? What would they be running on if not to run against Donald Trump? Because they can't point to actually helping anything.
Exactly. Right. Because I think that's exactly what's happening here is that they don't have a record. They don't have any accomplishments. They have jack squat. And so they're like, oh my God, let's figure out a villain. And the villain is this MAGA element thing that I'm going to make up out of thin air. And we'll say, oh my God, they're ruining democracy. And this is what they're doing. This is precisely what they're doing. And they have the media in their pocket because the media is a bunch of Democrat losers. And so they could use the media as their machine to get everybody all riled up. And this is what they do. This is precisely what they're doing right now. And the imagery and the crap that we saw last night, it's terrifying that they're able to do this. It's terrifying what they're turning our country into. And they think that this is going to work. And then Democrats are on board with it. They think that this is just fine. Liberals think this is fine. It's a spectacle. It is a disgusting. I have never seen anything in my life like this.
It was incredible. Like watching it was just really, truly like, wow, we are in a moment right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I was disgusted. My heart sank into my stomach and I thought, I cannot believe after we've been doing this 14 years, almost 14 years. And I've been on this, I've been on this planet for 51. And I was like, I have never seen anything like this as an American ever. Ever. I never thought we'd stoop to this, that that a president would be talking to half the country like he's talking to us.
It's madness. Absolute madness. And it's another reason, by the way, I know we mentioned Patriot Supply earlier in the show. When you think about disaster recovery and just planning for the worst and making sure that your family is prepared, another good way, you guys, is to think about expanding and diversifying your financial portfolio. You can do that with Acre Gold, a subscription service for gold. Physical gold that gets sent to you is a really nice hedge against inflation and against just all the other market pressures, against all the other centralized banking system. I mean, like at this point, it's not far-fetched to think we might just return to the land of when you're bartering with things and not actual money. That's how freaked out. I mean, you can get yourself when you watch last night and think about where this could all lead. I'm just saying it's one more way to be a little bit prepared. You can check it all out. There's tons of great info on the website, getacregold.com/shit.
Yeah, people are asking, like, what do we do? How do we stop it? You know what? Because I mean, you can't, because you can talk about how crazy it is and how, this is just pure evil, which, I mean, it is. There's just this element of, I don't know. I'm very uneasy about all of this. Very uneasy. Like, I didn't sleep well last night after watching that. I was just very affected by that speech. Really, truly affected by that speech. I've just never seen anything like it. But people ask, what can we do? What can we do? You cannot give up. You just can't. You can't become complacent, you guys. You cannot give up. You got to, I know that people think, oh, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't count. It totally counts. We've got to overwhelm these people. We've got to show them that we are not weak. We're just not. And I think that's, I saw a comment in here where somebody said, when do we get put in camps? I'm not getting put in a freaking camp. There's no way. Yeah. No one's putting
this
me
is when
in
you buy ammo.
Yeah.
And you get prepared. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie sent a super sticker saying Tucker's opener last night gave her some hope. Right. So I didn't see that. And I'm going to have to go back and look for it because I would like to have some hope too. Another thing you can do other than the obvious, which is to vote and make sure that you're talking about this loudly and proudly and not trying to hide away from discussing these issues, is to volunteer as an actual poll worker.
Yes.
Because if there's so many people that are like worried about cheating, worrying about fraud, all of those kinds, get involved with that. And that's just one other idea that you can think about to try to get more involved. All right. Let's talk about some quick analysis because there's a few different clips I wanted to play. The first was Bret Baier immediately reacting, like immediately after the speech. And I thought what he said was really, really interesting. It's quick. Listen.
Well, a couple of things. One is for the White House press secretary to say that this speech was not going to be political is pretty remarkable. This speech essentially was a convention speech in front of Independence Hall. I think I, too, was struck by the image of the dark red lighting with the two Marines standing at attention in the background. A lot of times when we analyze things, we do things through the prism of how the media would cover it if Donald Trump gave this speech.
Right.
I think they might not stop talking about it for weeks on end. Because the messaging was so aggressive, it really was also a blueprint for Democratic candidates. This is how we're going to run. This is what you should be talking about. And while he hit tones of optimism about what he thinks about America, he clearly was trying to divide and drive a wedge in the Republican Party. I think they believe, the political advisors to the president, that the more that they're talking about Donald Trump, the more that the country is talking about Donald Trump, the better positioned they are to not be talking about inflation, crime, immigration, etc.
Right. Yeah. And then they have the audacity, they have the gall to call us fascists while he gets on a stage and pulls that shit last night. Seriously. I mean, I didn't even have to hear him talk. And I was like, what? Whoa. What is even going on here? You know what I mean? And then they all turn around and call us Nazis. Are you kidding me with this? After all that's been going on in the past couple of years with this administration, this is why it's severe gaslighting, you guys. It's like this is crazy. They're trying to project and turn everything around on us. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. And don't get weak. This is the thing. All of our side, we tend to be so weak about this. They're calling us extremists while they're being extremist. I'm so tired of it. So tired of being gaslit.
It like when Brett said that, again, it makes me think, okay, well, without Trump, what do they have? And so imagine, I'm just saying, imagine imagine if Trump today decided to give a speech saying, you know what, if this is all they've got, then I'm going to bow out. I'm not going to be their target anymore. I'm not going to allow America to be attached to my name in a way that makes Americans turn away. I'm going to bow out and then show me what you've got.
And then be like, what you got?
Then tell me
what you got.
Tell me what you're going to run on when you don't have me as a target. Go. And then the Democrats will literally fall apart because without results to show for themselves, they have nothing except for hatred for Donald Trump. That is it. That's all they've got.
The problem with that though, Mock, is that it's not even about a man anymore. It's about they've attached him to some sort of idea. Like they've attached him to Trumpism. So it's a movement now. It's an element. It's something on the periodic
Well, it's MAGA
table.
Republicans.
Right. It's like, and they've done this, they've marketed it, and they've branded it as a whole movement. It's not just a dude, which was brilliant on their part from a marketing standpoint. I mean, it's like, this is what the Democrats do. These people are freaking crazy. This is what they do. It's like they have teams of people that do this garbage. And then they have, like I said, they have the media on their side and they craft this stuff. And it's because they don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, they don't have a record. They don't actually do anything. This is what they do. This is what they do. They spend their time. They just spend their time demonizing us. That's what they do, because he doesn't know how to actually solve problems. This man has been in politics for over 40 something years and he hasn't done anything. And so what does he do? He's up there being angry, acting like freaking Stalin. This is what he's doing. And he's demonizing us.
And I totally get it. And I agree with all of that. And I know that it isn't just about Trump anymore as a person. It's about the MAGA movement. It's about MAGA Republicans. But it would be a lot easier for literally any other candidate to distance themselves from Trump than it is for Trump to distance himself from Trump. He can't do it.
I don't know. Because it's like
he's forever linked.
It's
forever linked to MAGA.
I hear you, but like even like Curtis said, he goes, they'll go after DeSantis. They call him a Nazi. They call him a Nazi.
But the difference is that DeSantis can say, you can try to make me the same person as Trump. I am not Trump. Here is how I am different. And then go. Boom, go. Just take it, because Trump cannot escape himself. Other candidates, even if the media tries to pin Trump on them, they can take the good and they can say, here's what I agreed with Trump about. Here's what I didn't. Trump can't do that because he is Trump, right? And so that's why, to me, at this point, I still maintain he's too divisive of a character to win independence. And don't tell me I'm hurting the Republican Party, Kathleen. I can have an opinion, and it's important because I know I'm not alone on it. And so, they can try to pin any kind of Trumpism onto any other candidate, and they will. There's no question about it. But those candidates at least have a chance to show how they're different. Even if they agree with Trump on almost everything, which I think DeSantis does. His policies are probably identical, but he doesn't have the baggage. And that is the point I've been making now for I don't even know how long. And so I know I'm not alone on that. And it doesn't, you can continue to say everybody's going to get attacked. I know that, but they are still different people. And that is a good thing. Trump could be such a kingmaker right now. He already has been in so many of the primaries. He already has been. He could so help by just removing himself as the ego of the party and letting other people run on this, because Joe Biden wants to beat Trump again. He wants it more than anything, and he has a better shot of doing it than against any other Republican. I really think that's true, because nobody else carries that same divisive baggage right now. So I know a lot of people disagree. I know some people agree. Thank you for saying so. But that's just where I am. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that Biden is a complete commie tyrant. And there are the fact that there were Democrats on CNN last night saying what a patriotic speech that was. What in the world? I don't know who this chick is, but she was part of a CNN panel. And here is what she said.
Trump's name right away and then frame the whole speech around that. Eva, you hear this talk about this being a political speech, and I don't think you could ignore any of the references to MAGA Republicans there. But for supporters of Joe Biden, for some of the voters that you've been speaking to out on the trail there, if you do believe that democracy, small d, not political democracy, but democracy is at stake, is this the type of defense that they've been wanting to hear?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And something else that really stuck out to me is that he almost seemed to sort of be reclaiming patriotism. Often you hear Republicans argue that they are the pro-America party, right? The Democrats are not patriotic enough. But what was more pro-USA than this speech? And I think this is exactly what what Democratic voters wanted to hear. We honor the will of the people, right? A nod to our democracy, but also a nod to preserving reproductive rights. He is the president of all America.
Right.
You mentioned before, too much of what is happening is not normal in this country. We are still at our core a democracy. I mean, all of these things, it was a very, very patriotic speech. And I think that is a lot of what Democratic voters across the country, they want to be patriotic, too. They want to be part of the American story, too. And I think he spoke to that.
And McCabe.
These people have no clue. He does not want to be president of all Americans. She heard a completely different speech.
Right.
God, commies are going to commie, man. They are. It's crazy. She heard, I want to like president to you, and all these other people are extremists. And she loves it. She loves that. She loves that half of America is being painted as extremists. That's the most un-American freaking thing ever. And yet these people are eating it up.
I can't remember who now I heard say it, but it was an interesting take that Joe Biden's speech last night was not geared towards Republicans or independents. It was to rally the Democrats, and she's clearly one of those people who bought it. It was to rally the base against just staying home and being complacent, because so many Democrats are disappointed in him and in the results or lack thereof that he's achieved and how bad everything is right now. So they're just like, well, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not going to vote for him because it's, look at how badly he's done. He was speaking to them specifically. He was trying to get them all fired up. And like, according to her or people like her, that worked. But he had no intention of unifying. He made everything a gajillion times worse. God, I hate that guy. I hate that guy. Monica Crowley, though. Oh my God.
I can't.
She had this perfect summary of the speech. And it's very quick, but man, she was on fire. And this was just absolutely spot on.
Yeah, the imagery there was almost satanic with that blood red lighting and the two Marines behind him. It was just insane. Look, this was a garbage speech by a garbage president. And the fact he gave this disgusting, dangerous speech at Independence Hall is a sacrilege. He deliberately used two phrases. He talked about extremism because of the association with terrorists and terrorism. And he also spoke about MAGA forces, as if 75 million Americans are part of some subterfuge guerrilla group. But he deliberately used that kind of language because he is making no secret of his intention of turning half the country into enemies of the state. And the purpose of that is so that they can leverage the power of the state against us. This is an incredibly dangerous moment for the country. Every dictator throughout history has employed this kind of language with that kind of backdrop. And for most Americans, I think they're really starting to see what is actually happening here, which is that the most dangerous threat we face is that our own government has now been fully weaponized against us, to the point where not only are the most fearsome agencies of the country turned against us, from the DOJ, FBI, and IRS, but also the President of the United States, who is supposed to effectively represent us all, and instead has turned all of his forces and fire upon half the country.
Yep.
Boom.
Boom. That is exactly it. My husband was out running errands because my daughter had some dental stuff done. He was out running because I had to deal with that yesterday afternoon. I watched the speech. He was out. He came home, missed the speech. And I looked at him when he came home and I go, buy ammo tomorrow, buy more ammo. And he was like, what's going on? I'm like, because I just watched the speech that I just have never seen anything like it. Just buy more ammo. I just do it because things are, I just don't feel right. Things are bad and serious. That speech was bad. I don't feel right about a lot. It's already been bad for the past couple months. I've already felt very uneasy about our government. I shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah.
No,
it's
you should
bad.
feel that way because every representation of the government right now is so completely gaslighting us so hard. And there
Right.
just is not a better example. Because I've got a couple clips of Karine that people just have to see if you missed her press conference yesterday. You probably saw that there was a report yesterday about how far behind in reading and math school kids became because of how COVID, all the shutdowns happened. Like the results
Right.
are in and it is bad, you guys. It is
Yeah,
bad.
I wrote it.
Fallen.
There's a post about it. I wrote a post about it on our site. If you guys want to read about that, there's a link and then the source articles and stuff like that on our site at chicksontheright.com.
So it's as bad as every normal, rational, logical person knew it would be, i.e. conservatives have been warning about this for how long? We were always anti-lockdown. And so now the fact okay, I'm just going to play Karine responding to this issue. You will not believe the amount of gaslighting that's happening in this short clip.
National Assessment of Educational Progress has this new testing that shows that 9-year-olds lost ground in both math and reading in pretty dramatic ways as a result of the pandemic. What is the president going to do about it? What is the administration going to do about this severe learning loss? And does the administration shoulder any blame for not pushing schools to reopen sooner?
So let's step back to where we were not too long ago when this president walked into this administration, how mismanaged the pandemic, the response to the pandemic was, how 47% of schools were in less than 6 months, our schools went from 46% to open to nearly all of them being open to full time. That was the work of this president, and that was the work of Democrats, in spite of Republicans not voting for the American Rescue Plan, which $130 billion went to school to have the ventilation, to be able to have the tutoring and the teachers, and being able to hire more teachers.
And now.
I'm just going to stop it because it's unbearable. Like the lying.
I can't. And the blame, oh, we wanted schools to be open and we didn't want kids to be masked. I mean, that was Trump. It wasn't Fauci. It wasn't that freaking troll Fauci who wanted kids double and triple and quadruple masked. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God. Unreal.
So, but the good news is that the DeSantis campaign team, and that's why I named myself Ron DeMarcus today, is because DeSantis's campaign team has released an ad directly in response to this whole new narrative the Democrats are trying to create, that they didn't want school shutdowns. And this blows it right out of the water. It's perfect. Watch.
Would you recommend to governors at every state to essentially lock down in order for a period of several weeks?
For the time being, I would, yes.
Going back to school presents the biggest risk for the spread of the coronavirus.
That it went too far, that particularly for kids who couldn't go to school except remotely, that it's forever damaged them.
Well, I don't think it's forever irreparably damaged anyone.
It is ludicrous to think that we would take our children out of these protective bubbles that we've created. You know, we can mitigate learning losses, but the reality is that we cannot mitigate loss of life.
Unbelievable.
Carla Matz, president of the union, says her educators do not support school reopening during this pandemic.
Very irresponsible.
Should American parents, teachers, school children be confident that come September of this year that they're going back to school?
I hope so.
How did you notice to open and to stay open?
Because that was what the data was telling us. If all you did was listen to Fauci or some of these people on CNN, you would think you could never open. But you actually looked at the data, it was very clear. People needed to work, people needed to have businesses open, and kids needed to be in school. That was very clear, and so we did it.
We are so much better off because we made that decision 2 years ago, and they're now saying, "Oh, how bad it was! How no one could have foreseen, the destructiveness of these lengthy school closures." Yeah, we foresaw it. That's why we didn't do it.
God, I freaking love that.
And you know what, you guys?
Love it.
And you know what you need to do? Is people are like, what can we do? Call people's bullshit on this stuff. Call their bullshit. Because when liberals are pummeling everybody because they have the media in their pocket and they're doing this stuff and they're trying to retell and redo the narrative on this stuff and act like if they're the ones who didn't want to be locked down, and we're like, what? Like, are you joking? Like, you guys, we are the ones who are like the people that are in here listening to this broadcast. Call their bullshit. Seriously, that would be my recommendation, because when I see people talking, like, I see liberals who are like, oh, we didn't, and we didn't, we didn't, blah, blah. And now it's like, seriously, that is such cognitive dissonance. Like, these people forget. There are people who I know who were triple masked, who are now walking around now without masks. And I'm like, you realize that COVID still exists, right? Like, COVID is still out there. So like, why do you not have a mask on? Because 2 years ago, you were like triple mask and like masking up your kids and masking up your dogs and like masking everybody up and everybody, you know what I mean? And you like bubble wrapped your house and you were freaking out and you were like lecturing me on what I had to do, which I never did. I didn't do any of the things. Totally fine. And it's interesting how everybody just ignores it now. Everybody just ignores it as if none of that stuff happened. Nothing happened. I just find that really, call them out. Call them out, because these people are adults. They're supposed to be adults. They acted like children at that time. They acted like obedient children. Fauci, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do every single day. Like, what a bunch of losers. Seriously, call them out.
I can't, but it's stunning to me that they're trying to rewrite the narrative as if people won't remember their businesses being shut down, as if they won't remember the mandates that ended up making so many people lose their jobs.
Exactly.
People will not forget that. It was personally affecting them. I mean, it's just, that's why I'm just like, it's a level of gaslighting that goes beyond just regular gaslighting, because people know what they experienced. You can't unknow that. You know what I mean? And yet they're still trying to say Democrats were like the reason that we're now open and everything's great. What?
Yeah. Democrats were the ones who sat there and listened to one man tell them what to do for 2 years. Democrats were the ones who were like, I mean, they were just lemmings. And this is the thing. Conservatives were not. Conservatives were the ones who weren't lemmings. So we'll see what happens when the crap actually hits the fan, because we're the ones who actually can think critically. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
This is the thing.
One more Karine clip, and it's important. It's very, very short, but it's important because it goes back to this whole extremist wing of the Republican Party that they're trying to push, right? Like this MAGA Republican thing. So now, and I thought this was I don't know if this was a slip or if this is like where they're actually going to take this narrative, but listen to who Karine thinks is actually extremist.
And again, we see majority of Americans who disagree. And so when you are not with where majority of Americans are, then, you know, that is extreme. That is an extreme way of thinking. I'm not going to, that's what I have for you, Phil.
So if you just don't agree with Democrats, you're extreme.
You're extreme.
So Joe Biden can pretend that it's not a majority of Republicans. She just said it. If you don't agree with us, you are extreme. And that should scare everybody, because that means that they are going to treat us as enemies of the state.
Right. This is that's dangerous. That's a hugely awful, dangerous way of thinking. And it's the antithesis of what I teach my kids. The absolute antithesis. I always tell my kids, if everybody's thinking exactly the same way, you probably should think differently. Like, just like what I said, think critically. Think critically. Always think critically. Think outside the box. Like, why is everybody thinking the same way? You should probably think critically and go, why does everybody think that way? Maybe I should think differently. Yeah.
And just like, look around at what is actually happening.
Right.
And then explain how you would continue to support the kind of policies that are digging us in a, deeper and deeper hole every single day. I mean, it's just crazy. Okay. One more video and then we'll get to Sack of Whack, because this one is just for comedy relief. This is Kamala Harris talking about God knows what. but she's got that whole weird speech affect thing going on again, where she's kind of like laughing as she's talking. And it's just so peak weird Kamala that I had to share it with everybody. Watch this.
You know what you need? On some of these things, folks can self-diagnose, right? I know I can't hear something that I want to hear. What? And so it's practical.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
As well as absolutely intended to bring down the cost.
What was she talking about? Was she talking about pharmaceuticals? What was she talking about?
No idea. No idea. No earthly clue.
She's a complete whack job, that one. Oh my God. You know, and you notice how you don't ever see her? Like, you don't really see her.
Well, I don't know where she was or where that, I have no idea where that was from or who she was talking to or anything. Like, that was just the strangest thing.
She's supposed to be handling the border, which has been a colossal disaster, as we know, right? She's supposed to be the border czar, because everything is a czar with these people, even though we're the fascists. But, you know, they have czars. Right. Whatever. Okay. and then anytime they talk about space, it's like, let's put her in charge of space. And she's like, oh, planets.
Oh my God, it's so pretty. The stars.
It's so vast.
And then she starts talking to everybody like we're all kindergartners.
Right.
Space. Remember that crazy space talk that she had with like the junior high kids who were probably like, why are you talking to me like I'm 5?
I know, right? A 12-year-old is so much smarter than her. It's just crazy. Anyways, she's smarter than everybody in this administration. All right, so whack. Are we doing whack?
Yes.
All right.
I have your thing ready to share.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there is an actual phobia that's called Michael phobia, and it's when you're afraid of Michael Jackson.
I don't understand. What can you? Is there any more detail before we show this video?
There's this chick. Her name is I think it's Ruby. Her name is Ruby, I think. She is afraid of, Ruby Marriott. She's 18 years old and she is just deathly afraid of Michael Jackson. And her family makes fun of her for it, but she's like, it's a real phobia. I have Michael phobia. And here's the best part. Like, there's a video of her like being afraid, and like there was an impersonator in a nightclub that she went to, and she was freaking out. Like, she was having an anxiety panic attack because he was there and performing, and she was completely losing her mind. I'm sorry, I have to make fun of this, but it's not funny. I mean, if you have a real phobia, you shouldn't like make fun of people, but I have to, because this is so funny, because her parents and her sister, they joke with her about it. And they were like, they did the whole thing where they were like, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Because
I thought it was Eddie, are you walking? I'm confused now.
That's the thing, I know. But did you see the TikTok? Because she's like dying. I sent you.
Yeah, I'm going to show it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
She's
so
she's afraid.
Look at her. She's freaking out.
She's freaking out. This is a real. Look at her.
Oh, there he is. How? And so she won't even look at him. She's terrified.
She can't. Look at her. She's terrified of him.
Oh my God.
And her family's consoling her because she has Michael phobia. It's a thing, you guys.
I don't understand people at all. What does she think he's going to do?
I don't know.
Okay.
But she's afraid. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. All right. It is time for some My Pillow talks. You guys, you know what I forgot to mention too is that our meet and greet is literally a week from tomorrow.
Oh my God.
And massive shout out to Genucel, which is our top sponsor. They're our primary. What's the word I'm looking for? They're our primary
the premier.
Sponsor.
They're our flagship. Our flagship sponsor.
They're the title sponsor of the meet and greet. And so just wanted to make sure that I recognize them as such. And so very, very excited that they're going to have some representation at the meet and greet. Super excited to meet them. If you haven't checked out all their amazing products, make sure you go to genucel.com/chicks. All right. And also don't forget to visit mypillow.com/chicks and get yourself some sheets or get them as gifts for other people, because now is the time. All right. Now, I'm going to say something that could be hugely controversial. And
really?
I know, right?
No.
I don't know if I'm the only one on the planet. I may be. I was very pleased to find somebody else who actually agreed with me on this, some sportscaster person. I find Serena Williams to be utterly awful. Like, I do not like her at
You're
all.
not the only one. You're not.
Really?
There are a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah. And did you know that she's best friends with Meghan Markle? So that makes a lot of sense.
I did know that. Yeah,
You
that does
did?
make sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
'cause
I know they're super
But they're
tight.
both. So they both suck. I mean, it's like they have to because they think about it. They're best friends.
I mean, I just find her to be completely just unlikable.
Right.
I mean, not to mention the fact, I mean, I'm afraid of her physical stature. I'm like legit afraid of her. I mean, legit terrified.
So listen, nobody tell her that we find her unlikable. Don't tell her. Because she's
I'm really scared of her.
beat the crap out of us. She's gonna come beat the crap. I can't take her. I cannot take her.
Okay, because you know, she had there's been rumors of her retirement, and there were all these people that went and watched her play, and it's this huge deal. And I'm like, why is I get she's a great tennis player. I'm not denying that, but I'm also just really, really scared of her. And I love that I saw this TikTok of this guy who is saying all the things. So I'm just gonna let him say all the things.
Nobody at ESPN or the Tennis Channel is ever going to say anything negative about Serena Williams. But watch this on-court post-match interview from her yesterday and tell me that it isn't one of the most arrogant, disrespectful to her opponent, who she never mentioned, self-centered, unlikable champions we've ever had. Compare what she says on court to Rafael Nadal, another champion, in the way he approaches his mindset and the sport and his opponent after a match. Keep in mind, both players made over $30 million last year.
This is bad.
Well, I'm a pretty good player.
Modest, humble, kind.
What? Are you surprising yourself with your level? No, I know. I mean, I'm just Serena, so
Compare this
it's
to this.
About, be humble enough to accept the process, to build the positive things day after day in the practices, and today in a match, having a 3 hours, 8 minutes match against a tough opponent. So it's a moment to survive, stay positive, and just accept the things how are happening, and then stay positive, stay with the right attitude. Tomorrow, one more day
Class
to
and
practice.
grace.
Tomorrow,
Positive,
so
tough
just
opponent,
enjoying the fact
opportunity.
that I'm here, and I am here to try my best in every
Try my best.
Class.
Nobody at ESPN or the Tennis.
That was Michael Costa, by the way. If you're interested in looking that up, that was Michael Costa. And I was so glad somebody else said it, because you hear the cheers in the background. People freaking love her.
People
and I'm
are
like, what's wrong with me?
She's so sure of herself. She says that's confidence. No, I mean it's just flat out arrogance. You sound like a jerk. You sound like a total jerk. Just stop it. Have a little class and grace and a little bit of humility, for crying out loud. Like be a positive role model for girls. Don't be such a jerk. Yeah.
She's just awful. I just think she's awful. Also, quickly, just wanted to tell people, because I know everyone's still freaking out. There's a bunch of people freaking out. Oh, Monica hates Trump. And blah. I will delightedly, happily vote for him a third time, you guys. Okay? So just calm down. I just don't want to have to. I will. I just don't want to have to. So
hey, listen, if it makes everybody feel better, I love him and I'll vote for him. It's fine. Okay. So 50% of us, I dig him. I think he's great. I'm on the train. I've always been on the train. I'm eating steak on the train. I'm eating all the steak on his train. Okay. All right.
And she'll get me on the train as soon as he's the nominee. I'll be like, okay, I'm all aboard.
I'm dangling all the filet mignon and the alcohol. I'm like, get on the freaking train.
All right. I know we're late, and so I want to just show one more video that is like the ultimate in patrioticness, because this is amazing.
Hi. Good morning.
Oh my God.
What's this?
I would die.
Want the egg?
It's a little weird he's feeding him an egg, but okay.
There you go.
Oh my God.
There you go. You want the egg? There you go.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my God, how beautiful. I would
Hey, buddy.
lose my mind.
Just the
What are
coolest
you
thing
doing?
ever.
How gorgeous. Wow.
I love it. I just love
That's
it so much.
cool. They are so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
I know. Just the
So
greatest.
pretty.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. All right, you guys. We made it to Friday.
And
No one's
it's a
putting-
long
no
weekend.
one's put. You're right. Oh my God, that's right. We're not going to be here on Monday.
That's right.
I was
It's a
just gonna
holiday
say-
weekend, you guys.
I was just going to say that nobody's putting me in a camp. So no one's putting baby in a camp.
That's right.
We should get shirts that say that. No one puts baby in a camp. I think
Unless
I'm
it's
gonna do
Camp
that.
Tono.
That's right. That's right. That is right, you guys. I think I'm going to make shirts
Anyway.
that say that. Anyways, bring it in, you guys. Bring it in.
Everybody try to have a really good long weekend.
Right.
We're all going
Try
to
to
be
have
okay.
We're all going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We have
It's
each
gonna be
other. It's
fine.
going to be fine. It's
right.
going to be
It's gonna
great.
be fine.
You guys have an excellent weekend. We will talk to you on Tuesday morning.